Awesome. And big welcome to our emotional intelligence workout. Today, I am going to do my best to walk you guys through the kind of exercises, workouts that I do for myself as I try to improve my emotional intelligence. And yeah, I guess, first time I'm doing this. So any feedback you guys have for me would be awesome, especially in terms of explaining the different elements here and if it's enough time and stuff like that. But anyways, this is what I do, and I thought I'd just do my best to uh, share it with you guys in the case it could be useful for you as well. Awesome. So just before we get started, you'll need something to write on, piece of paper or something like that, pencil. I'm going to use a pencil for this, and so that way you can do all these exercises. Okay, so without further ado, let's dive into our first exercise. So we're going to have 5 exercises today, and the first exercise that we're going to do is just what I call emotional awareness, and it's 2 minutes of writing down as many different emotions that we can think of. And this is just to get the kind of mind moving and thinking about emotions. So I have my little timer here, and let's get started. So feel free to do this in any language that you want, and it's just 2 minutes of writing down as many different emotions as you can think of. Awesome. So 3, 2, 1, go. Excellent. So that is us done and dusted for that first exercise. Now, the reason I do this one, and again, I usually will do this in every workout, is just to get the blood flowing, the muscles moving in terms of thinking about the different emotions that we have and how many emotions we can come up with. So, what I'd like you guys to do now is to go ahead and count up the different emotions that you have there. And so that you can have this as a record, and this is what I do to keep track of how many emotions I have. And so I'm just trying to add one more every day or every time I do this, just again to build my vocabulary in terms of emotional intelligence. So go ahead and count them up. Brilliant. So whatever you guys got is great. It doesn't matter if that was one or if that was 100 or anywhere in between that. It's just about using that as a starting point and trying to build off that every time. And just in terms of a little bit of the theory, don't know if this is interesting to you guys or not, but emotional intelligence, it all starts with that emotional awareness, knowing our emotions so that we can be able to name them and work with them. And so that's why we do that exercise. Brilliant. So what we're going to go into next is an exercise called peaks and valleys. And peaks and valleys is just reflecting on whatever time period you want, but we're going to do it in a week. So from wherever you are now to 1 week back, and just jotting down the different peaks and valleys that you experienced during that week. So bringing it from the general just list of emotions that we have in general, to you specifically in the past week. So for this one, just going to give you guys 90 seconds, going to give us 90 seconds to work on this. And it's just reflecting on your week and thinking through what were some of the peaks, the highlights, and some of the valleys, the lowlights. And so just bringing this into your own life and into your own shoes. And again, doesn't matter how many you have there. If you can only think of one, brilliant. 3, awesome. Whatever, 5, 10, 20, awesome. It doesn't matter how many you have. It's just about reflecting on that. And again, building that muscle within us so we can start understanding and reflecting on the different emotions we have. So here we go. 90 seconds and 3, 2, 1, onwards. Brilliant. So we're now going to go into an exercise called triggers and reaction. And this is again just going even a bit deeper into those peaks and valleys that you just worked on. And so what I'd like you guys to do is just to pick one of those highlights or lowlights from your past week and the emotion that was related to that. And I'll have up on the screen here the breakdown with an example, but there's 3 steps to this exercise. So the first step is to figure out the trigger, the build up to that emotion. So what was going on in kind of the situation, the context, who was involved, what was going on through your mind, or physically, awake, tired, or hurt for any reason, whatever that is. Whatever is going on, we want to know as much as possible as what triggered that emotion, what was the build up to that. So that's the first stage. Now, the second stage of the exercise is to then think through the reaction. So as a result of that emotion, what happened? I felt angry, and as a result, it made me do X, Y, and Z, and that's what we want to know. So what were the reactions off the back of this emotion? And then the final stage is to then think through what next, or what would happen if you were in that situation again. Would you want to react in the same way? Would there be anything that you could tweak or change or anything like that? If it was a highlight, how could you get back into that emotion again? What could you do that, that build up that made it so nice? How could you kind of recapture or recreate that build up? So that's the breakdown. And as I said at the beginning, you're new to explaining all this. So would love any feedback. My apologies in advance if that was a little confusing. Hopefully the example that's up here will help. But let's give it a go. So we're going to have a good 6 minutes to do this. And if you work through one emotion, just feel free to start on another one, no problem. But this is what we're going to do. Triggers and reactions. And here we go. So, three, two, one, go. Awesome. So as I said, if you've finished one, feel free to go on to a second one. I'm still working on my first one, but I'm kind of at the stage where I'm thinking, what would happen if I was in that situation again? What would I do differently? And yeah, keep it up. Good work. Awesome. So that's us wrapped up with that exercise. And I don't know if you worked on one or two. I ended up working on two different emotions there. One a little bit more kind of weighty, where I had a bit more depth to that, and then kind of a quicker one there. But yeah, the triggers, the reaction, and then what would happen again if you were in that situation again. And again, the reason that I lean into this exercise, or that I've done this exercise on my own, is just to understand what has triggered different emotions that I have, what was my reactions off the back of that, and then if I was in that situation again, how can I be agile with my emotional intelligence and work with my emotions so that I actually can tweak it in a different way and choose how I respond to that. So we have just two more exercises, and this next one is just a gratefulness exercise. So it's going to be a minute of just writing down everything that we're grateful for, and this could be in terms of your day, in terms of your week, in terms of the month, the world in general, whatever you're finding grateful in your life. Go ahead and write that down. So again, 60 seconds. 1 minute, just write down everything that we're grateful for. And again, if you only think of one thing, that's fine. 3, awesome. 4, 5, 10, 20, awesome. Just whatever you have on your plate, go ahead and write down what you're grateful for. So here we go. 3, 2, 1, boom. Awesome. So brilliant. And thanks again for diving into that one. Grateful for you also on the other side of the screen. So, yeah, big thanks for being here. Now, we're just going to wrap up with our final exercise. And again, just the exact same as what we did in the gratefulness one, but this one in terms of excitement. And this is just about looking into the rest of your day, the rest of the week, your next week, the month coming up, just life in general beyond today. What are you excited for? So, again, 60 seconds to do that. And that's us wrapped up for today. So, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So again, big thanks for diving into that. And that's us done for today. And that's just a little example or what I do in my kind of weekly workouts on emotional intelligence. And yeah, just it was a privilege to be able to do this with you guys. And as I said, any feedback is super gratefully received from my end to be able to explain all this a bit better and just to work on this and so that I can become more and more slick. Brilliant. So, yeah, enjoy the rest of your day and have a lot of fun. Toodle pip. Bye.